All right, y'all, welcome to the show. Holy cow, is it going to be a wild ride today? So, of course, LA is exploding. It's a war zone. You have reporters getting shot. You have chaos and anarchy in the streets. I'm going to walk you through all that. I have 1,000 videos for you on that. After that, we'll get to Trump issuing a dire warning to Elon Musk. We have Joe Rogan squirming as Elon unleashes on Trump. We have an ABC reporter who was censored and suspended for telling the truth about Stephen Miller. We have proof that Donald Trump is indeed in the Epstein files. J.D. Vance lies directly to Theo Von's face. We have a total meltdown among MAGA watching their two daddies fight. They are coping and seething over the Trump-Elon breakup. And then we also have a bombshell report on the Gaza aid flotilla, which was seized by the IDF. Greta Thunberg has officially been kidnapped, being held hostage by the IDF. So we got so much going on, man. It is going to be a crazy, crazy show. So everybody, you know the drill. Please do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the channel. That's below. That helps out massively and costs you nothing at all. And thank you to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. That link is below as well. As you all know, we couldn't do this show without you guys. We're real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser. I've never done an ad read. So please consider supporting the show. $2 a month, $5 a month, whatever it may be. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. We got a lot of stuff to get to. So just to catch everybody up real quick, and we covered this the other day in a breaking news story, but you had these massive ICE raids happening across the country, but particularly there was also a bunch of them happening in Los Angeles. And because of those ICE raids and the rounding up of innocent people, the detaining of innocent people, the attempt to deport innocent people, basically the powder keg exploded and you had these massive anti-ICE protests that broke out. So, in response to that, after literally just a day or two of protests, and by the way, at the time, no violence whatsoever, Trump decided, I'm going to invoke the Insurrection Act, I'm going to federalize the California National Guard, which is effectively taking them from Gavin Newsom, and I'm going to deploy them in the streets of LA, and then beyond that, you have Pete Hegseth and Trump now threatening, we may also send in the Marines to crack down on American citizens. Okay, so this is a huge deal. This is the whole ball game. Doing the Insurrection Act, invoking martial law. At the same time, he's got his fascist military parade coming up on June 14th in about a week. At the same time, we learn about how Palantir is creating a mass surveillance blackmail database where they take facts about all Americans and put them in one single file so they have all the dirt on you they need. This is all happening at once. It's all happening super quickly. So I'm going to show you the videos from last night, which are absolutely chaotic. They are insane. We got wild stuff happening. But before we do that, let's catch up here as to what was the chain of events that led us to where we are. Here we go.
The mainstream media is not telling us the truth about what's happening in California, so here it is. California Governor Gavin Newsom put out a tweet saying the federal government is taking over the California National Guard and deploying 2,000 soldiers in Los Angeles. Not because there's a shortage of law enforcement, but because they want a spectacle. In Los Angeles, there have been mass raids going on for days now where ICE is going in trying to raid communities to try to round up people who are law-abiding citizens in this country to try to deport them. But there have been mass defend immigrant family protests going on to make sure that they stop ICE. These protests have largely been peaceful, and anytime you've seen any escalation, it's been from the ICE agents themselves. In this clip, you'll clearly see that the police are the ones that are agitating and pushing people.
By the way, to that point, I got a message from a friend of the show. I've known this guy for a very long time, and he said he was at one of these LA protests, and the protesters were all being perfectly peaceful, and then the cops started shooting tear gas directly into the crowd. So that seems to me to be validation of the idea that it's all the people decked out in military gear with weapons who, in many instances, are the ones firing the first shots.
In this clip, you clearly see the people are peacefully organizing and literally shaming the ICE agents out of the community. Shame! 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 As a political commentator, it's literally my motherfucking obligation to make sure that I'm corroborating shit, because a lot of people in the comment section are going to come through and say, well, oh, you're picking and choosing specific videos to show a specific narrative. False. Literal news release from the Los Angeles Police Department themselves came out and said today's demonstrations across the city of Los Angeles remain peaceful, and we commend all those who exercise their First Amendment rights responsibly. The Los Angeles Police Department appreciates the cooperation of organizers, participants, and community partners who helped ensure public safety throughout the day. So even the Los Angeles Police Department is coming out and saying that everything has been peaceful all throughout the day.
That is a wild fact. That the LAPD was basically saying, look, we don't need the National Guard. We don't need the Marines. We don't need anything. Okay, like, if anything, that's going to inflame tensions and make it worse. Basically, get the fuck out of our way and let us do our jobs. All right, here we go.
Here comes Donald Trump's orange ass, who, by the way, is still looking for distractions to not have us talk about the fact that Elon Musk said that he was in the Epstein files. He's over here escalating the situation in Los Angeles by putting out a presidential memorandum. In this memorandum, he says numerous incidents of violence and disorder have recently occurred and threatened to continue in response to the enforcement of ICE. Literally none of this is true. I just showed that the Los Angeles Police Department said not only do they have this shit handled, but everything has remained peaceful. With this memorandum, he's basically taking over the California National Guard and deploying 2,000 soldiers in Los Angeles for fucking nothing. Not only that, but then got Pete Hegseth, who's the Secretary of the Department of Defense, put out a tweet that basically says the Department of Defense is mobilizing the National Guard immediately to support federal law enforcement in Los Angeles. And if violence continues, active duty Marines at Camp Pendleton will also be mobilized. They are on high alert. High alert for what they're calling a violent mob assault on ICE, which is again, a false fucking flag. None of it is true. Not only have they activated National Guard and have Marines at hand, they're also bringing in military equipment and ammunition into the community. Black Hawk helicopter, which is a military helicopter, moved in from the Border Patrol. They are unloading dozens of boxes of ammunition, lethal weaponry, and you see tanks with flammable labels on the side, as if they were getting ready for major battle. While he's militarizing police, escalating tensions in Los Angeles, also that he can get another story out there other than he's in the Epstein files. While all of this is happening, this motherfucker's at UFC making an entrance with Dana White and shit. All of this is a fucking spectacle. All of this is a distraction, and I need us to be focused and toned in. California, the world is watching.
And Gavin Newsom had released a statement literally warning, look, if you send in the National Guard, that will lead to more violence in the streets, more chaos. That will inflame the tensions that you're pretending you want to tamp down. So, look, he wanted any flimsy excuse he could get whatsoever to try to go full fascist, full authoritarian, full dictator, full tyrant. And it looks like that's exactly what he's doing right now. So by the way, shout out to Brian Baez for this video. He's over on TikTok. You could check him out. But let me set the table some more for you. So when we talk about ICE and what they've been doing, I mean, guys, the horror stories are endless. So look at this one. Snatched in plain sight. Congress, where are you on this? Plain clothes, no identification, unmarked cars with everyday plates. Anyone can throw on regular clothes, flash a fake badge, and claim to be ICE. The way they're operating is reckless and dangerous. So this has been a huge problem. You have ICE officers dressing like gangsters, dressing like thugs, covering their faces in plain clothes with plain license plates on their vehicles. And they've been, riding up on people and just snatching them off the streets, kidnapping them, abducting them, human trafficking them to Lord knows where. So here's just one example of many examples. By the way, at the same time, we also learn there's a lot of ICE officers who have literal Nazi tattoos that are clearly visible on their arms. They've been deputizing a lot of Proud Boy-like motherfuckers, a lot of far-right white nationalist-like motherfuckers to be these ICE agents. All right, here we go.
What agency are you Where are you taking them? Under which authority are you detaining them?
I don't know if you heard, but they keep asking, where are you taking them? Where are you taking them? Where's your badge? What's going on? No response.
Sorry, I didn't understand the Spanish. No. I'm not taking pictures. I didn't understand.
For the record, the reason they're wearing masks is because they know what they're doing is illegal. The ICE officers know that. That's why they're covering their face and hiding their identities.
So what agency are you guys with, or through which authority are you guys?
Which press office we should reach out to, giving you guys your...
Why are you not worried about...
Now, by the way, a lot of these videos I'm going to show you, some of them are from LA, some of them are not. This is just what ICE has been doing all around the country leading up to this. Okay, more. ICE has just raided a restaurant and bar in Charleston, South Carolina. It looks more like the military raided it, people are saying. Here we go. Here's the video of this one. Look at this. Insane. All right, more. Note that these clashes occurred after ICE explicitly began carrying out worksite raids and arresting people at court hearing and check-ins. Explicitly people who are not criminals. In fact, this happened because Stephen Miller screamed at ICE to stop going after criminals. More. A Trump regime trooper pulls out a weapon and aims it at an unarmed U.S. civilian as ICE kidnaps a victim in Memphis. So this one here's from Memphis, Tennessee. Watch this.
I just want my dad. He's not a criminal. He's not a criminal. What are you doing?
Get back.
What are you doing? Why? Just say why.
Points his gun at a concerned wife, saying, he's not a criminal. He's not a criminal. One more time. Watch this.
He's not a criminal. What are you doing?
Get back.
What are you doing? Why? Just
I'm sure that's not proper protocol. You have a distraught wife and you point your gun at her. And this guy's face is showing too, by the way.
criminal. What are you doing?
Get back.
What are you doing? Why?
Jesus Christ. More. Here's a Los Angeles school worker who shares frustration over parents having to leave their children's graduation ceremony because ICE raided an elementary school's graduation today. Watch this.
Can't handle this, y'all. This is crazy, yo. I didn't think this was about to affect me like this. But, our neighbor's school, y'all know I work at a school. Fuck. Our neighbor in school, I think it's Gratas, I don't know how to say it. It's Gratas or something like that. They were having their graduation. And there's helicopters in the sky. Most of these schools are... Fuck, yo. Most of these schools are predominantly Hispanic. Most of these schools are predominantly Hispanic. Gratas, I believe elementary, was having their graduation. And all of a sudden, a bunch of parents have to run out because ISIS is there. This is the story that I'm hearing. And, you know, our school goes on lockdown. Our principal, you know, tells us it's a drill, but we know it's not a drill. And, you know, I had to come outside. It's my break. We kind of got like off of a soft lockdown. And, you know, parents had to run out because they don't have papers. And they had to leave their kids because the kids do. What type of shit is this, yo? And then kids are freaking grabbing teachers and crying on their leg because they don't know if they're about to see their parents when they get home. What the fuck is this? And we voted for this shit?
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Raiding school graduations. All right, so this one. A friend of an Ecuadorian female detainee in ICE custody shares she was taken without notice, leaving her 5-year-old child alone in school and had to be picked up by a nanny. The woman suffers from cancer, and ICE is preventing her from getting her cancer medication. This is just one of literally over 100,000 stories like this happening in real time. ICE detained a U.S. Marshal because he, quote, fit the general description of a subject. Basically, they racially profiled their own kind. And this was an article from NBC News. ICE agents mistakenly detained U.S. Marshal in Arizona. The deputy marshal was detained because he fit the general description of a subject being sought by ICE, according to the U.S. Marshals Service. The idea at this late date, oh, don't worry, they're only going after undocumented immigrant violent criminals to keep the community safe. That is a lie. Everybody knows that's a lie. We have evidence piled as high as Mount Everest proving they're going after countless innocent people. Here's another one. Trump regime ICE forces assaulted and kidnapped a mother on her way to pick up her children from school. This is what they are doing all over the country. More. Here we go. Absolutely horrifying. Chaos erupts at the U.S. federal courthouse in New York City as ICE detains a man just moments after his immigration case is dismissed.
Wait a minute. Jesus.
Get off, guys. I'm obstructing a federal right. Obstructing a federal right. Get on the ground. Get back. Get back. Get back. Stop fighting.
When you do this, actual rule of law breaks down in the country, because now the message you're sending is, hey, if you're an immigrant, even if you're a legal immigrant, do not go to any check-ins, do not go to any court dates, because if you do, they're going to snatch your ass there, even if the judge says, hey, you're good, you're free to go, you're fine. This leads to the breakdown of law and order. And by the way, who are the real criminals in this scenario? Flagrantly violating court orders, ignoring the law. This is absolute gangster, thug, mafia, fascist shit, and we're watching it in real time. Many undocumented immigrants who went to ICE check-in appointments at a federal building in LA this week were taken into custody, brought to the basement and held there, lawyers and family members say. So again, following the rules, following the process, following the law, getting snatched up anyway. That's what's happening. Gee, I wonder why people snapped and why there's thousands of people in the streets now. So here's the acting ICE director who's responding to political rhetoric causing anti-ICE sentiment. Here's what he says. Listen to this. This is incredible.
And agents walk into danger so other people can sleep safely at night, so kids can make it to school safely and play outside.
Think about what he just said. We do our job so kids can make it to school safely and on time. No, you are snatching the innocent parents from those kids, and they don't know if they'll ever get to see their parents again.
While it's easy to be an armchair quarterback and make up talking points that get activists riled up, the bottom line is my officers and agents are out there protecting the same people who are threatening their safety. Law enforcement's common sense. Politicians need to stop putting my people in danger. I'm not asking them to stop. I'm demanding that they stop.
Excuse you? Have you heard of the Constitution? Have you heard of the First Amendment? Have you heard of freedom of speech? Have you heard about telling the truth? Explaining the facts on the ground of what's actually happening? These motherfuckers have some nerve. Holy shit. This is the most anti-American shit I've ever seen in my life.
Here's what I have to say to Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, and anyone else stirring up the outrage about what ICE does. These are real people with real families you're hurting with your ridiculous rhetoric and inflammatory comments. And it's time to remember that.
So in other words, you're not allowed to disagree. You're not allowed to tell the truth about what they're doing. Because if you do that, oh, you hurt their feelings. And their feelings are more important to them than the rights of the people in this country. Stephen Miller has set his sights on new targets to find undocumented migrants. Home Depot and 7-Eleven. So we talked about this briefly before, but Stephen Miller had a meeting with DHS officials and ICE officials, and he reamed them, and he screamed at them, hey, why are you not deporting more people? We want 3,000 deportations a day, minimum 1,200. I want you to go to Home Depots. I want you to go to 7-Elevens. I want you to go to hair salons. I want you to raid graduations. He's the one who's steering this ship every step of the way. He's the one who's now leading to the mass chaos and breakdown of law and order in this country because his ICE fascist thugs are violating the law on a regular basis and ruining lives on a regular basis. Look at this fact, y'all. ICE arrests under Trump top 100,000 as officials expand aggressive efforts to detain migrants. Ladies and gentlemen, let me explain something to you. When it comes to both documented immigrants and undocumented immigrants, both of those groups objectively, factually commit fewer crimes compared to native-born American citizens. That's a fact. So when you crunch the numbers on this, by the way, you know what percentage of immigrants are violent criminals? Less than 1%. You know what the raw number is? About 10,000 or fewer of the immigrants in this country are violent criminals. Think of what I just said. The raw number is 10,000 or less. There's been over 100,000 arrests. That means you have minimum 90,000 innocent people who are being fucked with, who are being screwed with, whose lives are being upended for nothing but a bigoted, xenophobic, idiotic, racist, mafia, fascist policy being implemented by the Trump regime here. Everybody needs to keep their wits about them in this moment. Look at this. Robert Scavarla says the following. Be cognizant of information warfare. The Trump administration will use influencers to spread disinformation so they can create sufficient outrage to justify violence. They're already reviving old conspiracy theories about Antifa. So here's one MAGA hack influencer. I've discovered pallets of cement bricks within striking distance of the ICE agents. There's no other pallets around. Some are in the back of the gate, but these are in front of the gate. I'm told protesters used these cement bricks to throw at ICE agents in Paramount, California. This is what our cops are up against. Organized looters strategically placing caches of bricks and rocks at locations throughout New York City. Look at this. They're trying to pre-justify the state cracking skulls and harming people and killing people. Governor Gavin Newsom said the following. I have formally requested the Trump administration rescind their unlawful deployment of troops in Los Angeles County and return them to my command. We didn't have a problem until Trump got involved. This is a serious breach of state sovereignty, inflaming tensions while pulling resources from where they're actually needed. Rescind the order, return control to California. Gavin Newsom went on to sue the Trump regime. They already filed a lawsuit saying that the statutory authority that the Trump regime used in order to steal the California National Guard, that they disregarded another part of the law, which says you need approval from the governor in order to do that. They're saying the law that you're using in this moment, you're not actually going by the literal text of the law. And so you have a misinterpretation of the law, and you're using that to do an authoritarian overreach. He was also on TV, went on MSNBC, and Tom Homan threatened to arrest Gavin Newsom. And he's like, come arrest me. Come get me. Come get me. Stop trying to round up innocent 4-year-olds like they rounded up a 4-year-old American citizen with cancer and deported them without any medicine whatsoever. Like they deported somebody, a woman, immediately after she gave birth. They tried to do that. They arrested her immediately after she gave birth. Stop going after these innocent people. Yeah, come after me. That's what he said. He also said very clearly this is a strategy to go full authoritarian. And as he pointed out, things were under control until you decided, let's send in the National Guard. Okay, so Trump came out and said, if officials stand in the way of law and order, yeah, they will face charges. Gavin Newsom says, inciting and provoking violence, creating mass chaos, militarizing cities, arresting opponents. These are the acts of a dictator, not a president. LA Mayor Karen Bass went on ABC 7 in LA, and she had some strong words as well. Listen to this, and also at the same time, watch what's happening on the screen here, because this is just a little taste of what I'm about to show you of what's going down in LA right now.
Well know is ICE initiated enforcement actions on several workplaces, and that created a sense of chaos and outrage and fear and terror. Because
So understand what she said. The only reason we have an issue here is because you're doing mass raids on workplaces. By the way, did you know one of the people that they arrested and that they assaulted is literally the head of a union? I believe it was the leader of the SEIU. They assaulted a union leader. Mass raids at workplaces. What do they say all the time? Oh, if you're going to be in this country, you got to work hard. You got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Then a bunch of immigrants do that, and they go, no, not like that. Kick them out of the country. Fascism is what we're seeing here.
Because people are very worried as to what happened to their families. You also know that when ICE enters a city, that local officials are not notified that that is going to happen. And we are left in the lurch responding spontaneously to something that had been planned, but we were not a part of the plans.
Wow.
Mayor, we've heard a lot of talk about the National Guard coming here. We're wondering if you can give us an update on when we can expect them.
Well, I hope that they will not arrive at all. As I mentioned, I've been talking to people in the White House. I even talked to Tom Homan, who is responsible for this, and I believe that we will be able to work things out.
They did end up arriving. So Trump said, I'm going to send in the National Guard. And then basically like 12 to 15 hours later, he went on Twitter and said, or Truth Social, and said, great job by the National Guard in Los Angeles. Well done. And at the time he said that, the National Guard was not on the ground yet. But within a few hours of him saying that, then they showed up. Okay, more. Here we go. Chaotic scene outside the federal detention complex in downtown LA in the wake of ICE raids playing out throughout the day. Here we go. They're boarding up the doors. You have the protesters saying, let them stay, let them free, and you see some Palestinian flags among the protesters. So by the way, as I'm about to show you, this federal detention center where the ICE agents brought all the innocent people that they kidnapped and abducted, you had protesters form a human chain around the ICE detention center, and they were saying this: let them stay, let them free. In other words, we're not asking anymore. We're tired of you ripping apart communities, destroying families, destroying people's lives over fucking nothing. All right, more. Here we go. Protesters in Paramount, California have vandalized a U.S. Marshals Service bus during fiery demonstrations against immigration raids. So this bus, I believe the idea is that it was supposed to be used to transport these innocent people that they just kidnapped. Here we go.
Of Alondra near where that Home Depot is, where all of this started this morning. So I'm under the impression right now that either this bus is for those agents, the Border Patrol, or it's to make arrests. Oh, it looks like the bus is moving even though protesters are trying to stop it from moving. So we don't know if this is reinforcements, if this is to help with arrests, or to get those agents out of there. But this situation continues to just unravel here in Paramount right now. We're bringing you live pictures. This is Josh Haskell with ABC 7 Eyewitness News of protesters literally trying to stop this bus with their own hands. And the bus is slowly creeping up. And it does not appear that this bus is full of, I don't know who is on this bus. I don't know if anyone is on this bus, but they are kind of trying to creep forward. And I don't see how this situation resolves without the sheriff's department getting involved or local law enforcement. It really does feel as though if these are reinforcements or for arrests, they're going to have a difficult time.
All right, more. Heavily armed Trump regime forces driven away by community resistance mid-ICE raid in Los Angeles. Scenes repeating all over the city where people are standing up to them. By the way, as I pointed out, just like a lot of the raids that I showed you and actions I've showed you from ICE, it's not just in LA and California that I'm showing you videos from. I'm also showing you from around the country. Also, same scenario here. We got a lot of these things I'm showing you are from LA or Paramount or the surrounding region, but some of this stuff is not. All right, here we go. So one of the things that you'll see is, as they point out, like you have regular people attempting to basically prevent federal agents from getting to the ICE facility, right? They want the innocent people who were rounded up to be freed. I mean, look at this. This is a war zone. We're looking at a war zone. All right, more. Here we go. Protesters have surrounded the federal detention center in Los Angeles. California isn't backing down. This is a full-blown standoff with the Fed. So this is what I was alluding to before, surrounding the ICE building and basically saying, free these people.
Alana, you're taking a live look at one of the protests underway in Los Angeles just a few hours after the mass immigration raids. Chris Christie is live in there 7 with the latest. Chris.
That's right, Giovanna. It's a major protest going on about 2 hours now. Close to 1,000 people now wrapping around the detention facility between Alameda and Los Angeles Street. They started on the front steps of the federal building at 300 Los Angeles, now marching down Aliso. In the lead there is that cattle truck leading the pack as they make the turn onto Alameda Street. The strategy here is to basically encircle the detention facility, which is that building right there, where we understand there are actually some people inside of the building.
Federal agents face off with protesters in Los Angeles. This video is also wild. Watch this one. They're being very lenient with the tear gas and the non-lethal rounds and the smoke grenades. As I pointed out, a friend of mine who's been a friend of the show for a very long time, he reached out to me and said he was at one of these protests in California and everybody was being perfectly peaceful in the crowd, and then the cops started shooting tear gas at them. So by the way, as you're also witnessing here, some people you're seeing are DHS, some are ICE, some are police, some are other kinds of law enforcement, like I said, National Guard now there. So you have all these different, it's a mishmash of all different kinds of law enforcement, and they're all doing different things. All right, more, here we go. This one is honestly legendary. So there's this skater kid who was basically, look at this picture. I mean, just total standoff with a colossal number of, this looks like it's federal agents. This looks like it's not police, although I could be wrong. Yeah, Border Patrol agents. Okay, so watch this, man. This is wild what you're about to see here. So they're shooting at his feet, and he's taunting them. Basically doing like a little dance, taunting them, going like, oh, I'm scared.
Can't even do this shit! What the fuck?
Standing there with a skateboard. Then this happens. Now they're actually shooting him with non-lethal rounds, with tear gas. Gives his middle finger. I have no idea how he didn't fall there. I have no idea. They lit his ass up from point blank. Look at this. Casually walks away, gives them the middle finger. Then, I don't even know if this is real, because this is too perfect. Right, but CBS News Los Angeles, they got an interview. I guess it's with this guy, and here's the legendary response he gives us.
You told me you got caught up in the tear gas as well. Describe what happened to you.
Oh, just tasted a little tear gas. Tasted like fascism.
That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. All right. So this is a right-wing account that says this, that here's a left-wing protester trying to block an ICE SUV transporting people. This guy says illegals. As you all know, as I pointed out, you have, 90% of the people they're going after, no criminal record whatsoever, breaking up families. A lot of these people are completely innocent. So we have a left-wing protester trying to block an ICE SUV, and this is what happens.
We started seeing some sort of smoke to help try and keep those people from the gate here. Okay,
look
so
right here.
We are. We're in the middle of the street here.
Right here.
You can see one person trying to stand right in front of this SUV here, but it's just such a dangerous situation here, and it's really not going to do him any good to be standing there and possibly get ran over by agents. So here they are. They're on 9th Street now. Crowd is running alongside with these vehicles, and I pretty much guarantee that this SUV is not going to stop. Someone's
here we
throwing.
Go. Watch.
Looks like
and he's down.
All right, let me widen out here. Okay, so we saw some eggs being thrown at the vehicle. Now he is just, partly ran over by that SUV.
Oh, we can see that person getting up.
Oh, it looks like a bicycle was also struck in the crosswalk here. It's just a dangerous situation. It doesn't, not really going to prevent them from leaving, but now we have a whole other situation here.
Jesus Christ. Federal law enforcement moves in on protesters with tear gas. You can hear the reporter struggling to breathe.
If they're denying attorneys or not access, but usually I've gone to many detention centers in my practice of 40 years, but everything has changed now.
Attorney Yancey,
so it looks like this is them coming out of the ICE building.
To go on this note, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time. We're going to have to move down to downtown LA. Things seem to be picking up down there. Once again, we thank you for your time. Let's get to Lauren Posen, who is down there. Lauren, what are you seeing and hearing? It's looking like things are getting chaotic.
A large crowd of law enforcement come out.
We have, oh my God, we have tear gas. We have fireworks going off. Tear gas is in the air. People are dispersing. I can't see anything.
Holy shit. Holy shit. Breakthrough News says over 10,000 march against ICE through downtown Los Angeles, demanding an end to raids and calling for the National Guard to leave the city.
Who's got the power? We got the power. What kind of power? People power.
It's a lot of people, man. Holy shit.
Trump, escucha. Estamos en la lucha. Trump, escucha.
National Guard deploys tear gas as pro-immigrant protesters rally against ICE in front of the detention center in downtown Los Angeles. National Guard going forward and pushing protesters back in LA.
There are certainly no weapons that you've seen. Careful, I see them going forward. Stay safe, Kyung.
Watch out, watch out, watch out.
Okay.
So they're pushing everybody into the street?
We're watching.
I don't.
We're watching live pictures here. This is from Los Angeles, outside a metropolitan detention center, where over the course of the last 2 hours, we've seen the size of the federal forces there grow, not just National Guard troops, and that's our Kyung Lao right in the middle of it. I want to make sure she stays safe and her photojournalist.
U.S. Northern Command is saying that approximately 500 active duty Marines are prepared to deploy.
I also want to ask you about some breaking news that we're just getting in. This is brand new into our newsroom, that the U.S. Northern Command is saying that approximately 500 active duty Marines are, quote, prepared to deploy. In their words, as unrest in Los Angeles continues. This is after, of course, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, had mentioned this. Is that necessary at this point?
No, not operationally, it's not necessary. There may be other reasons for it.
So you see a car on fire here. I forget what the name of the company is. It Waymo? I think it's Waymo. You had some protesters call in a Waymo ride and basically just light the vehicle on fire, right? That was one of the things that has been most prominent that's being pointed out by the right, is how some vehicles are being set on fire. You also have some rocks being thrown at law enforcement vehicles. Here we go.
Locations here today. So as we
on the highway
from the mayor, we are watching the California Highway Patrol slowly push several different locations here today. So as we await word from the mayor,
basically a line of cops and a line of protesters, and the cops are pushing back the protesters. Here we go. More
have gathered outside the federal complex in downtown L.A. You can see it appears that there are some federal police there, as well as the National Guard. President Trump has deployed the National Guard on the ground in L.A. To try to quell some of the protests that have been going on now. Well, this is their third day.
So now we also have, and this, you'll see, this gets wild. So a bunch of journalists have been assaulted by officers, shot with non-lethal rounds. Here's one example here. And you'll see, remember when I pointed out, they're being very lenient with how they use their non-lethal rounds, their tear gas, their smoke grenades. As I said, friend of mine told me there was nothing but peaceful protesters at the specific protest he was at, and they still got lit up. Well, here you have very clearly a journalist. This is an Australian journalist. Watch carefully what happens, okay? You'll see the cop in the corner of the screen clearly seeing a big camera and seeing somebody holding a microphone, and watch what the cop does.
After hours of standing off, this situation has now rapidly deteriorated. The LAPD moving in on horseback, firing rubber bullets at protesters, moving them on through the heart of LA.
The corner cop, watch this.
You just shot the
You okay? Did you see that? Did you see that? It was the corner cop turns, points it directly at the journalist, and fires. Watch.
Out of LA. You just shot the
You okay? They shot the press. That's not the only example. Jordan Chariton of Status Quo News, he sent me this. Watch what happens here. Here you have one of his journalists on the ground. Shout out to Tina Desiree. Watch this.
Don't rub it.
Oh, fuck. Fuck. Get in here.
Video journalist Nick Stern hit by what is believed to be less lethal ammunition, hospitalized, requiring surgery on his leg. So we already have two examples of the media getting hit. In one example, for sure, this was on purpose. Don't know the specifics of this instance, but for the Australian reporter, definitely on purpose.
Getting hit.
We're press, please don't shoot.
We are literally all press here. Where do you want us to go? Go out, don't shoot us. All right, we are all press. Okay, can you let us go without shooting us?
Holy shit. Holy shit. We also have this one. You have police on horseback assaulting a guy who fell to the ground. And what's incredibly ironic about this is listen to what the policeman on screen is also saying and compare that to what the cops on the screen are doing.
We'll continue to support peaceful protests and enforce the law when criminal acts occur.
So guy down.
The LAPD remains focused on its core mission to protect lives, safeguard constitutional rights, and serve every neighborhood in Los Angeles with integrity. Let me open it up now for any questions you might have or any points that we can clarify.
Oh.
The governor made a very strong statement that he didn't believe the Trump administration needed to activate those National Guard troops.
Throws him back to the ground. Holy shit.
Because he felt we had adequate safety protections as officers here. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, if I
as a bunch of people pointed out, they said it looks like the cops didn't know that they were being recorded in this instance. You have a guy falling to the ground. Cops on horseback beat his ass. When he gets up, another cop drags him back to the ground. They start hitting him with sticks. Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. Now, by the way, we just learned this. Glendale terminates divisive ICE detainee holding contract amid California protests. Decision comes as federal actions to enforce U.S. immigration laws inspired 3 days of protests in the L.A. area. So now you have Glendale, California is going, look, we got this ICE holding place. Not anymore. We're canceling this contract because clearly this is leading to incredible problems in our city. This is unacceptable, especially the way ICE is doing their job and who they're going after, ripping families apart, sparking immense backlash. We're not doing it anymore. We're done. All right, we also have, look at this, y'all. Inhumane Florida State Senator Ileana Garcia, co-founder of Latinas for Trump, issued a sharp rebuke of Trump as his administration seeks to ramp up deportations. So this is a Latina for Trump who thinks, wait a second, I thought you meant you wanted to go after the undocumented immigrant violent criminals, and you're going after innocent people. You're going after grandmas and grandpas. You're going after hardworking people. You've deported children, people with no criminal record whatsoever. The head of Latinas for Trump just turned on Trump. Then we have this dark comment from Trump talking about sending in the Marines. Listen to this.
Act, do you plan to send troops to Los Angeles?
What?
Even if you're not planning to invoke that Insurrection Act, you still plan to send troops?
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart like it was under Biden and his auto pen.
What is the bar for sending Marines to
the bar is what I think it is. I mean, if we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order. It's about law and order.
Sending active Marines on the table, sir. Secretary Hegseth.
We're going to see what we need. We'll send whatever we need to make sure there's law and order.
Okay, so I don't know if that was hard for you to hear, but he says, we're going to have troops everywhere. And they ask, what's the bar for sending in the Marines? And he goes, the bar is what I think it is. Oh, my goodness. He also mentions law and order. The guy who pardoned 1,600 January 6ers, including over 400 violent rioters, including people who went on to kill other people who were fredophiles. The same guy who's violating every anti-bribery, anti-corruption law on the planet, he's lecturing us about law and order. The same guy who's arming and backing a literal genocide being carried out by Netanyahu, he's talking about law and order. I can't handle it. I can't handle it. And then finally, we have this. Lev Parnas says the following. My sources say Trump's National Guard move in LA wasn't just revenge. It's part of a larger plan tied to the June 14th protests scheduled all over the country. So by the way, what happened leading up to this? Trump was talking about how we're not going to give California any federal money. We're done. We're going to cut off all of California's federal money. And Gavin Newsom responded and said, okay, well, if you do that, Californians aren't going to pay federal taxes anymore. How about that? So, by the way, they net pay $80 billion to the federal government. So they're in the green, not the red. They're net taxpayers overall as a state. Incredibly productive state. Very strong economy. So when Trump hears, oh, well, then we're not going to pay federal taxes anymore from Gavin Newsom, that's when immediately when there's a day of anti-ICE protests, he goes, send in the National Guard, take the National Guard from them, or maybe send the Marines, escalating the situation, going full authoritarian, full fascist, full dictator, invoking the Insurrection Act. And so, but this is also tied to June 14th. He has this fascist military parade in D.C. for his birthday, although he's pretending it's for some other bullshit reason, right? And there's supposed to be massive anti-Trump protests all across the country on June 14th. And this is just a little taste of what's to come, where they go full authoritarian. They send the military everywhere throughout this country to try to not allow any dissent. Total war on free speech, total war on your right to protest. That's what we're witnessing. Absolutely devastating and scary moment here. And I fear things are only going to escalate further, because here you have the federal government, the fascist government, massively overreach and destroy so many innocent people's lives and deport so many innocent people and lock up so many innocent people and rip apart families with Trump's Gestapo, which is ICE. There's a reason they're covering their faces. There's a reason that they're trying to hide their identities, because they know what they are doing is illegal. So the fascists overreached a little too much, and finally the public snapped, and there's a massive backlash. If they had only gone after undocumented immigrant, violent criminals, we wouldn't be in this situation. You wouldn't have mass protests in the street, but they didn't. They went full fascist, and now they need to own the consequences of that. That's what we're witnessing. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.